do that we try to make the jamboree break even, and we have unexpected John Carpenter expenses. And so this really helps cover that gap. Damn, I can't find figure this thing out. Okay, here we go. All right, we are standing at the historic El Cortez Hotel. Are any of you staying here?
Yeah.
Okay. We've made the El Cortez famous. We stayed here when we did our wedding chapel show. We did the first wedding chapel when you entered the Fremont Street Experience. That's the one where we did the show with married people on Valentine's Day. In 1931, Governor Fred Balzar of Nevada. And by the way, I've had to correct several people today. The pronunciation is Nevada. It has always been Nevada. Every person born in Nevada calls it Nevada. I have heard correspondents on TV call it Nevada. It's not Nevada. It's Nevada. Anyway, Governor Balzar did two things that changed Nevada forever. He passed a bill legalizing gambling. Now, gambling had been legal around the turn of the century, around 1900. But for some reason, in 1909,
global warming people over there fucking talking about.
Nevada had outlawed gambling, and so that didn't mean gambling stopped in Nevada. There was still gambling everywhere. It just became illegal. I think they outlawed it so they could get the graft, you know. But all the gambling places stayed open. But in 1931, Governor Balzar, he was kind of a two-fisted guy. He was a cowboy, he was a miner, he was a blue-collar type guy. He said, okay, we're just going to legalize it and make it easier to manage. And so they legalized gambling, and they became the first state of the nation where you could get married without a blood test. Fuck syphilis. You want to get married with syphilis, go ahead. And so you could come to Nevada and get instantly married. So those two things created the tourism industry that exists today. This hotel was built in 1941. Now, you know how almost every original casino was owned by a different mob. The New York mob, the Chicago mob, the Kansas City mob, the New Orleans mob, you know, they all had interests in Las Vegas. This is the only one I've ever heard of that was the Minneapolis mob. And there was a gangster named Kid Can. Kid Can was one of the original owners here. Now, by 1945, it was owned by, Kid Can still had a little bit of a percentage of it, but it was owned by Bugsy Siegel, Gus Greenbaum, and Meyer Lansky. So I think that Kid Can couldn't play with the big boys. Somehow they just came in and took it over. And Gus Greenbaum would be the guy who was the president of Caesar's Palace, and that was created, Circus Circus. He was an innovator in the 50s, found dead in his car in Phoenix with a bullet hole through his eye in around 1957. Bugsy Siegel, everyone, you all know who Bugsy Siegel is, you know, started the first casino in Vegas. Meyer Lansky, you know, he was the mob king of Miami. So it became the Jewish mob here. All right. Why is it called the El Cortez? All of the original casinos in Las Vegas were Western themed. There used to be some faded cowboys and horses and stuff on this wall right here. They painted it over, they fixed the place up. You know, but originally, all casinos that were resort casinos were dude ranches. You came here and you went horseback riding. You went to the gun range. You did cowboy stuff. You had a sunrise breakfast at a campfire, stuff like that. And so the El Cortez was the first themed resort also, because that's what it was about, cowboys. The most famous Western-themed resort was the El Rancho, which was on the Strip for years and years and years, and it was actually owned by a guy in Texas who was not mobbed up, and people came from all over America to do cowboy shit. And you know, those dude ranches still exist. You can go to them in Nevada and other places, but it's no longer associated with gambling. It's a shame. You know, you do both. It was bought in 1963 by Jackie Gahn. Jackie Gahn was a owner of several small casinos. All these guys on Fremont Street, all these guys in downtown Vegas, they were gamblers who went into the casino business. So Jackie Gahn was a gambler, Benny Binion was a gambler, Sam Boyd was a gambler, and they bought up properties and they became casino entrepreneurs. Jackie Gahn bought this place in 1963. He moved into the penthouse. You can still rent the Jackie Gahn suites in the penthouse. It's really, really fancy. I don't know how much they charge for it, but you know, if you want to blow one out sometime, or if you like win the lottery and just don't care. I always think that these men's stores that they have at the casinos are only for people who just won $1 million. Because who else would pay those prices? This is one of about, I think there are five properties that are unchanged old Vegas properties. This is one of them. I mean, they fixed it up, but this is still the original building. This is one of them. The Harris on the Strip is one of the original old Vegas hotels. The Imperial Palace building is still there. It's now called Lynq. L-Y-N-Q? Is that how they spell it? L-Y-N-Q? I don't know what it is. It was the Asian-themed casino. I don't count that one. Because Caesars took it over and turned it into Lynq. So I don't count that one. Unchanged original property. But the Flamingo is still here, the original Bugsy Siegel Flamingo, 1946. The Tropicana is here until Wednesday. It will be demolished on Wednesday of this week. Imploded. And the Stratosphere is still here. It's an old school Vegas hotel, the one with the tower from the 50s. The other one is at the opposite end of the Canopy on Fremont Street at 1st and Main. On the other side is the Golden Gate. The Golden Gate was the first building. Let me back up. In 1905, Las Vegas was created. There's just land here, and they had an auction at where the Golden Gate is, at the base of where the railroad tracks are, at the base of Fremont Street, and they auctioned off all the lots. Let's see if I have some details on that. And they marked off Block 16 as a block where vice was legal. So alcohol was legal, gambling was legal, prostitution was legal, only in Block 16. Block 16 was between 1st and 2nd Street and Ogden and Stewart Streets. This next street is Ogden, the one after that is Stewart, between 1st and 2nd. And for years, it was the place to be. There was a place called the Arizona Club. The Pioneer Club opened in 1951. That's where Vegas Vic is. And then across the street from Vegas Vic, the Girls of Glitter Gulch Strip Club had Vegas Vicky. Vegas Vicky is waving at Vegas Vic. All of this stuff is the original blocks sold in 1905. My point is, the Golden Gate Hotel for years was known as God damn, it was like the Admiral Hotel or something. It was some boring name. And then they changed it to the Sal Segev. And most people, old timers, remembered as the Sal Segev Hotel. Sal Segev is Las Vegas backwards. And so the South Gev became famous for their 50-cent shrimp cocktail. So you could go in there and give you this pretty big glass of little tiny shrimps with cocktail sauce for 50 cents. So people flocked in there to get the 50-cent shrimp cocktail. And then some San Francisco businessmen bought the place in the late 50s, changed it to the Golden Gate Hotel, continued to do the 50-cent cocktail, but as they started to lose money, raised it to $1, and raised it to $2, and it became a $3.99 shrimp cocktail. And then finally, after losing $300,000 on shrimp cocktails in the late teens, they said, we're getting rid of the shrimp cocktail, we're not doing that anymore. So you cannot walk into the Golden Gate and get a shrimp cocktail today, which is a shame. They used to do those lost leaders to get you in there to gamble. So, the Golden Gate Hotel also had the first telephone service in Las Vegas, so their phone number was 1. The biggest bet in history on a roulette table was placed at the Golden Gate. Ashley Revell, but it was a British, I remember this person was from England. Ashley Revell put $135,300 on red in 2004 and won! It came up red and went back to England with their $135,000. The train station at the base of the street is the old Union Station. And when Amtrak used to come through here, they had a train called the West Wind that came from Salt Lake City and went to LA. It came through Vegas. When you stepped off the West Wind, you stepped immediately into the casino of the Palace Hotel. And so, or the Plaza Hotel, sorry. And when they started building the sports arenas and stuff, they asked the railroad to move the tracks away from the base of Fremont Street, which is horrible, horrible. They should have brought that back. They should do that high-speed train that they're trying to build from LA to Vegas. It should stop right there. It should stop right there at the original, the original Las Vegas. Okay, now, well, let me just give you a little bit more background. There was nothing here. We're in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There was nothing here. So people always wonder, well, why does Vegas grow up here instead of somewhere else? There's plenty of desert out here. And the only reason is there were springs here. Now it was not the only place with springs, but it was a place that was isolated. You had to go from the Muddy River. You had to go 49 miles or something before you got to a place with springs. And so it was when you got here, you wanted to rest, So it was an oasis, and the original springs. I've done this 4 times now. I'm going to give you guys a choice. They have everybody else. The original springs are not far from here. It's about a 5-minute walk. There's nothing to see. There's absolutely nothing to see. But if you want to stand on the site of the original springs, I can show you exactly where the center of Las Vegas is. The whole thing that created Las Vegas. You want to go there? Okay. We're going to walk through that parking lot over there. That parking lot goes over to the next street. So walk through that parking lot and turn to the right.
Oh, I got it.